lived in Bayside for many years while I was married, which is where my children grew up. I grew there too. When I turned 30, I went from black and white to color, as that's when I became president of the Parent Teachers Association, later changing it to the Parents Association, which is a story for another day. I was pretty well known in the community, even quoted in the newspapers by our community leaders and political figures. My parents lived only about 3 blocks from us, and we all had our friends in this amazing community where we lived. I grew up in Forest Hills, just 6 miles from where I was now living. Didn't get too far, having lived in other nearby areas for a while as well. About 30 years later, I moved back to Bayside. I was divorced, my kids were grown and married. I had grandchildren now. And sadly, my parents were gone. But I had the most amazing memories. I would drive around when I first moved back to go where my son played with his Little League team, as I sat there with the other parents in the early spring mornings at the 8 a.m. games, freezing and drinking my hot coffee to keep warm. Where my parents lived, and the schools my kids attended that I knew inside and out. While riding on the express bus into the city every morning, I passed other neighborhoods we had lived in, and those memories floated back endlessly. I passed the building we lived in when my son was born, some restaurants and movie theaters we had patronized years ago, his preschool, her preschool, where my parents lived before moving to the same development we lived in, and places with some fun as well as heartfelt stories attached. As I mentioned, I didn't get too far, but that's okay. These few areas we lived in were as different as we were, so whether it was another state or just closer to a different parkway, memories keep rushing back as these were the places where we all grew up. I was never the same Karen, as each home was a different chapter in my life. And recently, I've begun a new chapter, a new goal, a new dream. How about you?